I'm Dave Aaron. I'm a producer, engineer, mixer. I guess I'm most noted for working with Sublime, for mixing Tupac's All Eyes on Me, and doing all the early Death Row records, including the Dog Pound and Snoop Dogg, who I'm still working with today. Well, when I moved to Los Angeles in 1990, I started working at Larrabee's studio, and I already had some experience from working at Sun Studio in Memphis. And I had worked with U2 out there, and that kind of let me know that a lot of things were possible. So they were my favorite group at the time. I met another guy who worked in LA. He said I should move to LA and get out of, like, I guess, out of the secondary situation they had going on there into a more primary situation that they had here in Los Angeles. So, like 10 days later, I moved out here, applied at a few studios, only the top-notch ones, and finally one of them panned out, and I started working at Larrabee's studio, that's where I started really collecting a lot of my information and everything. I'd already gone to college. I got my degree in commercial music and recording and engineering, but I needed some real world experience. So I got on at Larrabee, which was a great break. I got to work with a ton of different mixers, engineers, lots of great producers: Teddy Riley, Babyface, L.A. Reid. I mean, the list was just countless, how many guys were coming through there at that time. And that's where I started working with Prince, as Prince came through, and I worked with him for about a year and a half. And that was a great break, because I figured once you work with Prince, you can kind of work with anybody, because he demands excellence. He wants it quickly, and he's not going to put up with anybody who can't deliver what he's looking for. So with that training, it seemed like working with other people, it seemed, kind of natural at that point. So I started working with a lot of different rap groups at that time. Rap was starting to get big here in LA again, and it was really starting to pick up. And I heard about this death row scene, and they needed engineers to work with them, but a lot of guys didn't fit into their clique. They were scared to work with the guys. They were doing different things that really the guys at Death Row weren't really feeling. So luckily, I started working with Daz Dillinger from the Dog Pound, and he would come into Larrabee, and they would call me to work with them, and I'd gladly go work with them. And we would be in there making beats, doing our thing. And I worked with Daz for a long time until I met Snoop. And once I started working with Snoop a little bit more, he started liking me, and it just kind of took off from there. And we started working at other different studios too, instead of just Larrabee. And they would bring me to different places, and then Death Row started calling me to do other projects for them that they had going on, and that's how I ended up working with Tupac. And basically it was a lot of people not really doing a good job before me, and my coming in and just kind of saving the situation. So it seemed to work out well for me with that. I've been in the industry since then. I've been working with like a lot of my dream artists that I've always wanted to work with. I've worked with new artists. I've worked with, I got to work with Wu-Tang, and RZA was a great artist to work with. And, through the years, just Exhibit and different rappers and different great singers and it's been an amazing experience since then. And with Snoop, he's a great guy to work with. He always has been. We hit it off right from the start, and we have a lot of stuff in common, and we just seem to get along great together in the studio and outside the studio. So I remember in '95 I was doing a lot of work for him in the studio already, and he asked me if I would go out and do his live sound, because he was kind of tired of his live sound not really matching the sound of his studio work. So I luckily had a lot of experience from college mixing live groups and stuff, and I really never expected to be mixing live sound again. I thought it was going to be kind of studio work from there on out, but it ended up, I said, sure, it's Snoop, I might as well. I'll get to see a lot of the world, and everything was just in my favor at that point. I said, yeah, let's do that. So I've been running his front of house sound actually since then. I haven't missed a Snoop Dogg show since 1995. I do here and there. I'll do live sound for people, but mostly I just do live sound for Snoop, and I'd rather limit my other work with different people for studio work. Well, this song here, I was I was making beats for different people, different things. There's one person said that they wanted a more West Coast, older, classic West Coast feeling beat from me, and I turned in. This one kind of came to mind, so I made this and I turned it into them. And for some reason or another, their project didn't really pan out. But I was playing some beats for Corrupt while we were on tour, and he heard this one. And he said, "Oh, that's a no-brainer. We got to do that one." And I said, "Well, yeah, no problem. Let's do a song." So I took the beat over to his house when we got back from the tour, and we made that one and like 3 or 4 more. I used to use a MPC 3000 for everything. I had, I mastered it, and I really had a good feel for that. And it was giving me the sounds that I want sonically and the feel that I was looking for. But they've improved Reason and some of the different programs so much lately that I really enjoy kind of making beats out of Reason right now, because it's easy to do changes and manipulate it, then import it to the Pro Tools. And then you can still go back and redo some things if you need to, which made it a lot simpler than how it was before, which kind of trained me to not second guess myself, really, because it wasn't so simple back in the day. So you had to get it done right the first time. And I still think that's important, even though it is simple to do changes now. I think it's important to get things right the first time and still have the option to be able to go back and maybe even be more creative. But, I think it adds a little more excellence to the music than just thinking, oh, I can always fix it later. I can always fix it later, because I bring some of that to the table that we couldn't always fix it later. We always had to have it right then. So I think there's something to be said that maybe getting lost in making music today, that I want to make a point that it's still important, to keep that thing alive, to try to get it right that first time. Well, I was asked by somebody to make a beat that sounded kind of old school death row-ish, and they were looking for a kind of a West Coast feel on it, and so I came up with this beat, and we ended up, I was playing a few beats for Corrupt, and the people that originally asked for the beat, I guess they never got back in touch with me, and Corrupt was like, "Oh, I love that beat, man, we got to do a song on that." So I went ahead and gave it to him. We put some vocals to it in his kitchen, and we get the song right here. Right now there's a lot of 808 stuff going on and everything, but I didn't put an 808 in this. I kind of let the kick drum solidify the beat and the bass just ride the bottom end of it. And I didn't really have a lot of things cluttering each other. And I think I was looking for sounds that layered on top of each other and still left room for everything else. So I left a lot of space in the beat. And with the sound choices that I made, I think I was just looking for different timbres that fill in the different spaces that I was looking for to not have it so cluttered and muddled. When I was doing the actual drums, I wanted the snare to be a really thick, big snare, but I don't have a lot of reverb on it, so I didn't want to take up. I wanted it to take up a lot of room when it hit, but I didn't want it to carry on and take up room in the mix after it hit, when the other instruments were playing. And with the space, I felt like with just the bass coming in there and on the downbeats and the kick and snare, a simple pattern, it left a lot of room for the vocals when I got on there, because Corrupt likes to do a lot of creative things with his backgrounds and this and that, so I knew it would fit perfectly with his voice. After we put vocals on it, I made a few other little changes, and I did a few drops differently and restructured it just a little differently, and I added another live bass part to it that I brought in here and there, and I really just let it run all the way through, and I'm going to do in the mix, I'm going to cut it in and out. Yeah. And there's the kick that I was talking about. The kick has a lot of attack. It's got a lot of punch to it. It's got a lot of sub and low to it, but not enough to where it's going to conflict with the bass. I think that's important to not have a whole lot of... Everyone wonders how you get the low end so tight, and it's without having a lot of conflicting bass frequencies, like struggling against each other. This has a lot of attack. You can hear the clarity, but it's still got punch, and it still leaves room for the bass to take up a lot of the subsonic frequencies. Again, with the snare, I used this snare, but I also doubled it with this snare. So this one took a lot of the meat and a lot of the space, and this gave the real attack and the stick click that I wanted together with everything sounded good. And I left them dry without really reverb. We can mess with that in the mix, but we might want to just leave it mostly dry because I don't want to take up too much space. Wanted to fill it in with a bass again with attack, but yet a lot of subsonic frequencies. And that one's the one that I chose, where it has a lot of attack, yet it really fills out the subs when you play it on big speakers. It really moves a lot of air. I work with a lot of producers that use little different sounds, and I noticed that, you know, it works best when other people do the same thing. They might mix a high bass with a low bass to get the same type of effect out of a sound, but nobody really wants to have two things or three things just cluttering up each other. So with my own beats, you know, I try to kind of follow the same rule with them. With the piano, I kind of knew that was going to be a part that was just going to kind of it was kind of set the tone of the music to give it kind of an eerie feel, but still keep it simple. Yeah, I played them in on my little Oxygen 8. It plays a good piano because you don't have to play with a giant range of notes. This is just one little chord on the upper register. So it did a nice job of defining kind of the tone of the beat. And there's another part on here I like. Well, that one kind of goes with the piano, but it's more of a pad sound. So it adds a tonal effect without really getting in the way of a whole lot. And then I have I like that a lot. No, I mean, I think in all music it's great to find the ranges that the instruments fit into in rock or anything. You want to find the ranges and have the full spectrum from top to bottom where you're really piecing the puzzle together without being redundant in a lot of the frequency ranges. I think, you know, especially with rock, you know, you don't want everything to get into the range of the guitars. And you still want to leave enough room for the vocals to be there because that's a lot of mid-range going on. But when you got the bass, you want it to be full, and with the drums, you want them to be slamming. So, I mean, it's just a real art to try to get the whole piece where you're balancing everything out to where you hear everything where you want to be hearing it. It's got the punch and attack that you're trying to get out of it, and the life. It brings to life the music. It does depend on the producer or what they're trying to achieve out of the beat, but it's not uncommon to add live instruments to a beat once you have it set in the sequencer. But I think in hip hop, a lot of the stuff does start out of the sequencer. I even know if people are playing live drums to it, they're either playing to a click or a loop or something that's going to keep them where they can still sequence to it later, or they're going to just loop their drums in different sections. So, with hip hop, you just want to. I find that everything it's really important to keep it in time to a click or to some sort of grid so that you're able to sequence later, manipulate sections and different parts later. The first thing I ever do is create a mixer, and then I start adding instruments to it. And with the mixer, I use a basic bass and a basic treble to kind of get what I want. And, I don't go too hard on it, but it just depends at this point. I kind of know what I want the sound to sound like, so I might want to print it that way with the EQ. If I'm not sure, I'll take all the EQs out and before I render it to a Pro Tools session. But at first, I'll just put all the EQs in, and I'll make a nice little mix on it with this mixer. And I will export the whole, either the song as an audio file or export the loop as an audio file. And in this case, I exported the song because I went through and did a little arrangements before I printed it. I was taking it's very easy to take stuff in and out of here and replace it. So I find a lot of times I might just want to make a rough arrangement in Reason, and then later I can always redo it in the Pro Tools. But at least I got something to start with. And I'll take the song the beat that I did right out of Reason, export it to 2 tracks, and then I'll import it to a Pro Tools session so that I can lay vocals on it. And, if I had the time to print it beforehand and I know for sure, for a fact, that this is how I want it to go, I might print it out before we do vocals. But most likely, I'll just do a 2-track. They can drop the vocals. I can arrange the sections by just cutting and pasting the 2-track if we need to extend a verse or extend a chorus or something like that, add a bridge or whatever. And then when I get back here, I can reprint all the sounds separately so that I can go back and remix them later, and I can try to follow the arrangement that I had on when we track the vocals, or do something completely different to make it even more exciting. Yeah, I've already got the 2-track and all of Corrupt's vocals on this other Pro Tools session. And like I said, I exported a 2-track right onto a session, put it on my laptop, and brought my little M-Box over to his house. These days, a lot of it's changed over the years. Of course, I kind of like to have everything in place before I do vocals. But if I want, I think the most important thing is to capture the performance and to save the time on whatever you're trying to do. I wouldn't waste a lot of time with mic choices or with which preamp you're going to use or any of this stuff. I'd rather just capture the performance quickly. If it means taking a mic and an M-Box or whatever over to someone's studio real quick, or their hotel room for that matter, and I capture it with a couple pillows strategically placed or something to dampen it a little bit, and that's what I'm going to do, as far as technical stuff and tracking and sonic stuff, I hear things from recording into the back of the microphone to recording with the mic in Omni to cars going by to a massive headphone bleed to recording in the control room too loud and having the sub on, so it's going right through into the vocal booth and you hear the sub on the vocal. That's why I've gotten in the habit of just kind of automatically filtering out things from about 80 and below and going from there before I even start with anything, because when you turn up a vocal on some big speakers and you have it loud, you're going to hear a lot of rumble under it just from the room and the mic and everything. And I like to kind of get rid of a lot of that rumble right off the top, you know, so that if the music does drop out, you're not hearing all this extra stuff on the microphone in the mix, you know. But I hear amateur stuff a lot, maybe too much bass when you're mixing, you know. I think they just think that maybe you have to boost a lot of bass into something to get a lot of bass out of it, you know, and that's not always the case, you know. It's a lot of where you place the instruments and place the bass, you know, so that it's not all just low end, that you're still getting the meat of the instrument as well, you know. When you just boost 100 hertz or 60 hertz or something, you're going to end up with just a boomy overload of the you know, on your speakers, you know. You can only give it as much as it really is asking to be given, you know. If you're trying to really push it past that point, that's fine for certain things, if you know that's what you're trying to achieve. But you have to be aware, because to me, like I say, bass is easy to get. It's the clarity that you have to really work on, you know, to try to get the music to fit in, as well as just have the bottom just bumping and subbing, you know. And we recorded all the vocals right here against the 2-track. And here's where I did a few drops, a few different arrangements, and I think we ended up tracking probably to this one here with all the little new drops and everything like that. And I have all his hooks, all his ad-libs, his lead vocal right here. Lack of having a whole lot of gear or anything like that. Like I said, I did the vocals really quickly in his kitchen, in his apartment there. And I wanted it to sound a little better than just running the mic right into the end box. So I put the mic on its own auxiliary here. And I put a bomb factory on it. There's 1176, so I can compress his vocals as it went to the Pro Tools. And then I assigned it to a bus. And then all the tracks that I was recording on, I just put to the bus 1 right here. And those are all on the same track. And that way I was able to record the microphone with a compressor to one of the tracks here. And I felt it kept a little things a little more in line and a little easier when it came to mix time, because I feel like there's nothing more important than getting it down properly the first time, so you don't spend the whole mix trying to fix bad vocals or fix badly printed sounds or poorly printed sounds. You just you end up spending more time fixing stuff than you do making stuff sound good and being creative. So it's going to give me flexibility to have everything on the separate tracks. And what I'm going to do is just print everything off of Reason here. I'm going to render each instrument on its own track, and then I'm going to import all these vocals onto that session that I just have all the music on. We'll line it all up, and at that point it should be ready to get a good mix on it. So I'll solo each instrument. We'll start with the piano. Yeah. So we got the sound there. We're going to want to export this. So this is the piano. And I want to make sure I put it in the right file. So we'll just put it in a folder in that. So we'll make a Reason Instruments folder. I like WAV files better than AIFF nowadays because they keep a timestamp. Yep, so we do it like this. And then export it. Alright, so when you get to this point, you know, we've printed all of our tracks. Everything is all rendered to a stereo WAV file that we're going to be able to import right into Pro Tools. So we can go ahead and quit Reason and make a new session in Pro Tools for this. DVD. We'll probably want to import these recent instruments because I want to see all them lined up. So we'll convert those and put them all in to an audio file. Folder right there. So once we get all these instruments in, then we'll just go back and we'll import Corrupt's vocals and a stereo 2-track to make sure it's all lined up perfectly. With mixing, I'm probably just gonna, if we're gonna mix out of the box here, we're gonna run everything out of stereo 1 and 2, or either a digital output, and you know, everything will just come out of the main output. If I want to group any sort of background vocals or anything like that, I'll do some busing at that point and just have the auxiliary track with the bus input coming out of, going into the main stereo out. So now I'm going to import more data this time. I'm going to import Corrupt's vocals off of this so that they come up the way they were. There's all the tracks. Everything tempo, 44. So there's all those now. Everything varies. You know, I never say I always do this way or I always do that way, because as soon as I do, I ended up doing just what I said I wasn't going to do. But, you know, pretty much I like to start with things sequenced because that way you can always lock to it, at least do it to a click so I can lock to it. These days, with the way the expansion program is on the Pro Tools and everything, you can get away a lot with doing live drums just pretty much to a rough tempo and then putting it in a tempo very easily now. You know, it'll just kind of snap to a grid almost with after it reads all the peaks and transients. So, you know, I like that aspect of it. But yeah, I know I can record live music and then put a beat to it later, but my old school thinking thinks it's going to be a little bit too much work. I might at least have, if I have an idea that I'm going to sequence to it later, I'm going to put down something that I'm going to be able to follow that's going to keep the time perfectly. So I'm not going to have to mess with that too much later. Well, yeah, and when I'm choosing my sounds, I'm thinking that, you know, I'm trying to make everything fit together. I don't want things to clash. You know, I don't want an overload of one area or another that's going to detract from what I'm really trying to get out of it. But, you know, I have more options when it's my own stuff, when it's my own beats, and I can do that kind of thing. If I'm just mixing someone else's music, that they give me a beat, I got to make work what they have, and I have tricks on how to make that happen, such as, like, if you have two things overloading with bass, you know, you might want to filter with a high pass filter some low end out of it, out of one thing. Just choose maybe one or the other, or get a perfect blend on things. And sometimes actually you can, if you get the right blend on stuff, you'll be surprised at even out of tuneness or whatever kind of things can just kind of all fit together if you got a good ear and you can just make it blend perfectly, you know, together. Okay, so we're ready to mix this. I know I got some good levels on all the instruments. It's all separated. Everything was exported. I checked the timing of everything, so it's all going to be right in time. On the vocals, I got everything laid out already. All the hooks are flown into the proper places. I mean, I can still make changes later, but for the most part, it's mapped out properly, so I don't have to spend a whole lot of time fixing. I can just spend more time mixing. So I'll just finish arranging the instruments in order of what makes the most sense to me. The kick, the snares, a hat, some percussion stuff. I'll bring the bongos up here, then the bass, and you know, the intro can go in there. So we pretty much have everything else, but I do want to get it where maybe all the instruments are at the top here. So I'll put them at the top. There's the vocals, lead, and I'll make this inactive That's the 2-track stereo reference mix. But I don't want to really, if I hit option and mute everything, I'll unmute, and then that might be in the mix, and I wonder why I'm hearing everything phasing. So, as I was talking about, we would normally, if I was doing a big record on a big budget in a big studio, I would spread all these out on a giant SSL console, have every channel coming up separately on its own channel on an SSL, so I could manipulate it all analog and then bring it back. But as it is now, we're just focusing on mixing in the box here. So we'll just go ahead and start out with the kick drum. Pretty much when you import sounds these days, everything comes up at 0. And, if you play the track, you can hear, it's pretty much been tracked with everything monitored at 0. And it almost sounds like something, but I think you're cheating yourself if you just leave it like that and don't try to improve the sound. But that actually falls back on like an old school recording technique of, recording things and monitoring at 0 and having it sound close to what you want it to sound like before you mix it. So I think these days it's good to kind of blend those two techniques together. I just want to start with everything at 0, kind of get familiarized with the sound, so I'll just randomly put stuff up. Just to kind of see how it all fits together. Yeah, so I haven't panned anything yet, or anything like that. I'm just hearing how everything fits. This is always a good idea, especially when you're working with other people, to kind of get to know what the song sounds like before you really dive into trying to get sounds. I think that's pretty important, to just get a sense of the musicality of the song. Let's see. Alright, so that's the whole beat kind of planned out. Listen to a few vocals. See how they all play together.
Hydroponic, light-headed upper grade hydrochronic. New strand off the planet bomb indeed.
Alright. So, yeah, I'm seeing how everything plays off each other now. I'll go ahead and just bring everything down. And we'll start with the kick drum. Now, when you import stuff out of Reason, it just gives you, or maybe a lot of programs, it gives you the file in stereo. And then I've heard a lot of people say that like printing it stereo makes it fatter or something like that. But a stereo kick, if it's coming up mono and it doesn't have stereo information, and whether it's 2 channels on left and right, it's still 2 channels of the same thing. It's going to sound mono. It might be twice as loud, but it's not making it much fatter or anything. So basically, if I were in a studio, I would take my output and I would just, if I were spreading it out on a board, I would just bring it up on one output, the stereo track. And then as I brought it up, you're going to hear it just coming up as a mono signal. But since we're doing it here, out of the box, I'm going to leave it on my output. And I'm going to just pan it to the middle, because I really don't want to hear it in stereo like that. And I think things are a lot fatter. Actually, if you take a stereo signal and you just make it mono, that does make it fatter. So let's see what we got here. Now, we're coming up out of an analog output right now for everything. When I go to here, you can see it's all coming out of output 1 and 2. But I got digital outputs, so I'll probably just change everything to ADAT 1 and 2. And have that come up on my board. And it's going to be a hotter, more direct signal. It's keeping everything digital. I'm not really opposed to putting an output through an analog piece of gear, external piece of gear, but if I don't have a good piece of gear and on my board might not be the best A to D converters, I'm just going to keep it all digital right now, and I'll just trim the digital input down a little bit. First want to mix, I want to listen to the track and just see what it's all about. I want to hear it. I want to make sure that I know musically what it entails, what kind of vision I have for it, what kind of vision maybe the producer might be looking for, if he's there or not. Sometimes that's the discretion of I have to use if he's not there. But if the producer's there, we can talk about it, and I'll get a feel for what the vocals sound like. I'll listen to them, see how clean they are, see how clean the sounds are, if they're distorted at all. When I import my sounds from Reason, I know they're not distorted. I know they were brought in on a clean export, a clean import, and everything was digitally perfect. And I know the sounds are going to be right. With some of this other stuff, it could be clipping. It could be, there's so many different things that could happen. So, I'll usually listen for imperfections, for any kind of cool tracks that I might want to do something unique to. I might want to hear something that I want to pan it back and forth, maybe through the song, or that I might want to make a telephone effect on, or just something unique, But I'll listen for anything and see if I get any ideas before I just start. Okay, let's pull up the kick. Let's pull up the snare. And let's solo everything. And let's make it sound like, big as it could be, every sound, And that's not really mixing, I'm going to mix the kick. I might not even solo the snare. I might just bring it up after I get the kick sound. I might bring up the hi-hat with all three of those. Then I might bring up the bass and just see how all those sound together before I even soloed it. Now when I'm soloing it to see if there's any imperfections, if I want to gate it, if I want to take anything out, if I want to add a little EQ to it or something like that. But I got a feel for what I want the drums to sound like, So it's not like you're just pulling up each sound, giving it what you think is supposed to be, and then adding them all together and hoping that they all work. Because that's definitely not the way to do it. Even when I'm mixing live, I don't really do all that. Okay, give me the kick. Okay, give me the snare. Or when I'm tracking drums, for that matter, in the studio, I don't do all that. Give me the cymbals and all that stuff. Now, if I have an assistant working for me, I'll have him do all of that, make sure that my lines are working right, that the mics are working with no bad mic cables, distorted signals, that I'm getting an absolute clean signal. But when I go to track it, I'm going to just take them all and just kind of put them up all at once. I might solo them here and there to hear what it's sounding like, but that's not what I'm basing my mix off of. I'm basing my mix of drums off of them all together, how they all piece together. So I like my drum sounds to not sound like a bunch of individual drums put together on tape or something. I'd rather them sound like one drum set with ambience and everything, so that you can envision that whole drummer just sitting right there, I think that's important to really envision your sounds before you track them or mix them. Envision what you're trying to get. So I'm going to put a insert on here. I got a 1176 compressor that I like a lot. Now, in this situation, you want to make sure that you're not making the signal worse by doing that instead of better. So when you bypass it, you can hear it can be a situation where it's not quite as good. So you really got to adjust it. Yeah, I want to bring out a little more punch in the kick, a little more bottom, a little more low end. So I don't have too many plugins. I like these a lot, the ones that come with it. I mean, they work just fine. And then we got a couple of these things too. Let's see what this is. Yeah, we go with a 3-band. That way we can really take the frequency up like that. Put on our big ones. Well, I'll sweep through. I'll sweep through the frequencies and make sure that it's all just how I'm wanting to hear it. I dip out a lot of this, what I call garbage, around the low mid area and boost it up around, well, on this kick it seemed around 60 and a little bit of clarity. And then I check it on the little speakers to make sure that it's not going to just, blow everything away, break the little speakers or anything. I might go with the snare, but just for this, I'm going to bring in the bass and see what this sounds like. Now, it's always, to me, it's easy to get a lot of bass. People ask me how I get a lot of bass out of this stuff, but it seems like it's almost too easy to get it, and sometimes you got to watch out. I hear a lot of amateur mixes that sound really bass heavy. So let's put this up and see what this sounds like. There we go. Now we're getting a lot of bump out of it. Not too much clarity. We don't want too much of that attack. That's what it sounds like without. By taking out some of the low mids out of the kick and the bass, sometimes it just leaves room for more of the sub. But it depends on what you're really looking for. Sometimes you want that punchiness that it gives from there. Sometimes I'm using two kicks, and I'll just use one for the attack and one for the sub. A lot of producers do that, so you gotta know how to deal with that when you come across that. I think there is some stereo information on that snare with the reverbs and stuff, so I'm gonna leave that. Yeah, sometimes I like to compress a snare a lot. Or maybe not too much. It seems like we're clipping here. We got such a hot signal. With compression and EQ and this and that, it varies from song to song, project to project. It varies very much from board to board, from studio to live situations, to a lot of different things that I really take a different approach. I never take really the same approach on a different type of thing. So if I'm on a Neve, I EQ a lot differently than I EQ on an SSL. I EQ a lot differently than I do on my Mackie. I EQ a lot differently than I do with a plugin in Pro Tools. I tend to, on an SSL, I tend to EQ almost everything. because I just got it there. It just takes a button and a little tweak of this or that, and it seems like every sound wants to have a little something. And I like the compressor so much on an SSL, and I got one on every channel. So I'll go ahead and I usually compress something even a little minimally. I like the gate stuff too coming out of there. I just kind of use a lot of stuff when I'm in an SSL room, and I enjoy it, and it sounds great, and it just adds like a pristine touch to my sound. So I enjoy that a lot. But just mixing out of the computer, I use EQ as needed. I tend to cut a lot of low end off of stuff, cut a lot of high end if it's abrasive, add a little high end. But I might be a little more drastic with things on a Pro Tools. I might be a little more drastic with things on my Mackie, and I tend to do maybe a little less compression, a little less this that. But I use less of them. Yeah. When I use it, I might use it. I always touch it to where I want, or if I need to slam it, I'll slam it. I mean, there's really there's no rule to what you're gonna do to things. But as far as my mentality when I'm going into it, if I'm on a Neve, I'm gonna EQ a lot of high end in the stuff. It seems like I really got to turn the knob a lot to get what I'm wanting out of it. And it's got like a different type of low end too, also than a SSL. It's got a different type of high end. I kind of am a little lighter with things, or I just kind of, I'm so used to an SSL. I really like that sound better. But when I'm doing studio sound or I'm doing live sound, I approach that a lot differently, because when I'm doing live sound, I do a lot of subtractive EQ. I'm taking a lot of low mids, a lot of low end out, a lot of frequencies that aren't working in the live mix, a lot of things that might have a tendency to feed back. I might rely more on my graphic EQ over on the side, which is controlling my whole mix, and I might tend to take stuff out of there and leave my channels less touched, and just do a lot more on the graphic and do overall everything to shape my overall mix, so that I'm taking like 2K and 4K and certain abrasive frequencies out, so that I can really pound a live mix and not have it hurting your ears. You don't leave the stadium with your ears ringing or anything like that. You just feel like, wow, that was just incredible. You felt it all the way through, but it wasn't like screaming. I do a different type of approach, like when I'm in a studio. I do a lot more maybe additive on, like, to get more presence out of things or something like that. So no matter what I'm doing, I'm trying to do different things. But you definitely got to realize that EQing is as much from subtractive, which would mean taking frequencies out and leaving it. Maybe I might take some stuff out and turn it up if I want more high end, instead of just cranking the high end and leaving the volume. And then I'm getting I'm getting a thinner sound and a more brittle sound with that high end than if I had just turned it up and took a bunch of lows and low mids out and then still had what I wanted. So there's a lot to, like I said, placing your level correctly. Sometimes you want a really breathy background group or something like that. At that point, I might duck the level some and really crank the high end, so you hear all high, but I'm not going to turn it up too, because then it's going to be like, killing. It's always this fine, delicate balance between your level and the EQ, and things might change. You just got to realize that it's as much taking stuff out as it is adding stuff to try to make it even better in your, for lack of a better term, better. All right, so we'll just loop this so it keeps on going. That's one thing I do like about the digital EQ, so now you can sweep through the frequencies until you get it to sound like you want it. We might have to put maybe some kind of compressor on this one too. We'll put like a smack. It's more of a big tube type thing. You gotta see how you definitely don't want to over compress your stuff. As you can see, I don't use a whole lot of plugins. I just use the ones that I need. But I think that the most important thing is to turn up the instrument to the proper volume. And that's what I see a lot of people doing too, is putting, maybe 5 plugins on one instrument that might make it sound great, but they don't turn it up enough to really make a difference. And I think a lot of mixing is in the level, the actual volume of where you play stuff, and then just EQing it around it to make it just accentuate a little bit. But it's mostly in level. Like if somebody wants to really hear the kick more, if they might say I want it punchier, I might want it clearer, but I might just turn it up like a couple dB or something, and that makes all the difference in the world. And nothing like turning it up a little, or turning it down a little. Now my hat already, it got printed with the pan on it the way I kind of wanted it, but now I feel like I don't want it as much. So you can still slide a stereo signal, change the panning on it, or even pan it into a mono way by doing this or that. So I might bring it back towards the middle just a little bit more. And I like that old sloppy sound on the hat. I don't necessarily want to make it too high-endy or anything like that. In fact, I might bring out a little bit more of the mids in it rather than bring out some of the highs. I might put a little top on it. And again, the level is the most important thing. You might have to turn it all the way down and put it right back. But you want to make sure that that hi-hat and the shaker is really sparkling, but not taking over your mix to where that's all you really hear sometimes if you really overdo that. That sounds good. I might just leave it panned where I had it. Bring it in just a hair. Not too much. Yeah, bring it into about 70, 50 here. I brought this all the way in here. want that bongo to just ride right under the snare, but where you can still hear it. And that way if the snare drops out and I want the bongo to carry the beat. I'm not going to put the dynamics on it. I might just put like a little EQ on it. So I'll use like a one band. Because really all I want to do is take a little bit of lows out. Maybe do a low pass type thing, or I mean a high pass type thing on it. Yeah, by using a high pass, you're able to take out a lot more of the low frequencies and leave the stuff you really want. So we'll go with something like that. You know, checking on your little speakers, your big speakers. Just keep going back and forth and making sure everything sounds good so you're not guessing about if you're hearing noises or buzzes or anything later. You know, I might take this bass and turn it all the way up. Just listen to the silent part to make sure that there's no funny noises on there, like buzzes or hums or anything like that, you know, especially if I didn't track it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, another sound right here. Usually like to bring out a little bit of that buzziness out of this. Where's my trusty plugins that come with the computer? I like these. Yeah, do something like that. Now you can hear I tracked it with the delay on it that I used on Reason because I just liked the ambience that it gave it. You know, you might not want to do that unless you're absolutely sure that you want the sound to have that particular effect on it, because you can always add it later. But I just happen to like how the ambience on it was, and you know, sometimes it's better to just capture it the way it is. With the piano, maybe we'll make it a little more subtle. And a little warmer. If you want to warm stuff up, just go to that low mid area. Maybe turn up everything, or maybe not. Maybe just turn up that part. See, I took a lot of the abrasiveness off of the piano. You You know, if I was on an SSL, I had unlimited EQs and compressors and all that stuff. I would even go ahead and try to bring some of this out. But as it is, I like the way the sound is, and I might just wait to see how much memory I got before I start messing with that one. I can use the high pass filter on this one and get rid of a lot of the lows that I don't want, and that way I don't really have to bring out the highs so much because it might make it abrasive or squealy or something. But this way the subtractive EQ leaves what you want and it takes away what you don't. And then if you want a little top, you can add it, but I wouldn't go too much. So in there, I panned the delay a little bit to more to one side and the direct sound to one side, so that it gave the effect of, a sweep over to from right to left. And I like the triplet delay on there, so I went ahead and printed it with that because sometimes I just didn't feel like reduplicating the same thing I know I wanted. If I want to check one part, like the chorus or something like that, I'll just put it in grid mode and loop it, so that it'll just keep coming around and around the same way. And if I want to really get it right, it'll just get right on the groove, and I can just keep on going around and around. I'll show that more when I'm doing vocals and stuff. So I pretty much got the music kind of blended as good as I want it until I add the vocals, and then I'm still going to want to make adjustments on the music after the vocals get in, because you kind of want to surround the vocals with the music and not just have the vocals lay on top of the track as if it were just a 2-track mix with a vocal on top of it. A lot of times you can tell. Alright, so we took a little mini break. After mixing the music, I'll check out the beat again, hear how it sounds, and then we'll move on to the vocals. See, I like to mix it loud for a while. I like to make sure all the sounds are really good so I don't have to guess and see if the low end is right or too much or not enough or anything like that. But then I also want to listen to it like I am now, soft, a really low volume, so I can make sure that I'm hearing everything in its proper place before I add the vocals. But it sounds pretty good. We did Corrupt's vocal all the way through his lead. Then he wanted to play some backgrounds on over the leads. So I said, yeah, I'll give you 2 tracks and we'll just go ahead and put background vocals on it. But, you know, he's so creative with his stuff, you know. He puts his own echoes on certain words, you know. While he's rapping it, he will, you know, do things off a little, but to make it sound on. You know, so he's really great with that kind of thing. You can trust that, you know, a lot of those are going to be there. And then I told him to do another track. It was just called like a wild track, you know, where he could just go down from the top and not really stick to following the guidelines of the verse, but maybe more reacting to what the verse was saying, or, you know, filling in some sort of hole or a crack that, you know, could have something that's really cool in the background or something like that. And that was his wild track, you know. And then, you know, either depending on a wild track, I might not double that one or triple that one, you know. And, yeah, you know, it pretty much, it's just getting a feel for it with the artist and knowing your artist and knowing what he likes to do and what he wants in there. I mean, like with Pac, it was, he'd have other engineers, you know, getting thrown out of the room because he would be trying to record vocals and he'd pick up the headphones and put them on his head and he'd say, turn it up, I want to hear it louder. And then he would start his rap. And then when he'd go into the room, he'd say, where's the beginning? And they'd be like, oh, I didn't record all that where you turn it up and all that stuff. And he'd be like, what happened? You know, man, get this guy out. He sucks, you know? And so, I mean, when I would come in there, I realized that he was that kind of artist. Record everything, you know? Just sort it out later. And we were doing that on 24-track tape. It wasn't like we had playlist after playlist to do it, you know? But I still knew better. I said, oh, we can do whatever later. I'll find another track. And we always had 23 open, you know? And we would, yeah, you know, I would just record everything, and that's why he would like me. So, we're going to move on to mixing the vocals. Now, this song has a lot of explicit lyrics in it, so that's part of actually mixing stuff. If you want to do it for a living, you're going to have to do a lot of vocal edits and getting rid of the curse words and this and that. So, I'll show you a little bit about that and how I like to do it, and we'll go from there. What I usually do is just solo the vocal out.
I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic, I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mad cocked. Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas.
So we're just gonna take that out.
With you niggas.
What I do is just go in, go to my tool here. Usually it's gonna look just about like that.
Niggas. With you. We ain't playing.
And then I want to make sure that I got it all the way to where it sounds just right.
Games with you. We ain't playing no more games.
So that it almost sounds natural without it.
Games with you. Games with you.
Even if that's not right where the cut really is, I just want it to sound natural. And I use a fade as a last resort, actually, because I like it to just sound natural on its own.
We ain't playing no.
So we're going to take a little bit more of that out.
Games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas.
Yeah. I like that.
Games with you.
But even later, I might fix it even a little more, and I'll show you that move too.
We ain't playing no more games with you niggas.
Okay, so once again,
Niggas.
we're gonna take that out.
Games with you. High games with you.
What I'm doing is just Apple E separates the region, and then I just highlight the region, and Apple M mutes the region.
More games with you.
That way I don't really have to totally get rid of it. And in this case, I may actually use a fade. Just to smooth it up just a hair.
With you.
Something like that.
With you.
I don't like to reverse stuff. I don't like to do that. But what I do like to do sometimes is put a delay on it or do something cool to it. So when I get done with all of this, I'll show you that move.
With you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog, and the eye of me. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic? Lightheaded, upper grade hydrochronic. New strand off the planet bomb indeed. Just some of that motherfucking bomb. Some of that mother.
Alright, again. Let's have a loud.
That motherfucking bomb. Just some of that motherfucking bomb ass.
See, now, me personally, I like to just really, I don't know. Sometimes I like to leave it where it's raw and cut, and you get the feel of what he's saying, and sometimes I just want it to sound like it makes sense.
Just some of that bomb ass weed.
So in this case, I just want it to be making sense.
Just some of that bomb ass weed.
That's what we're gonna do.
Just some of that bomb ass weed.
And here again, to save a little time, I'll put a little fade.
That bomb ass weed. My doctor. Just some of that bomb ass weed. My doctor told me that's what I need. So I'ma keep smoking. Wanna smoke with me? Baby girl thick, she all on my dick. On my beat it little bitch trying to on my beat it little trying to smoke my shit.
Now this one I might leave just for effect.
Smoke my shit.
I like that one. I mean, notice this was done in the kitchen, but yet it sounds good. There's not a whole lot of headphone bleed. He's saying that really softly when his verse comes in.
It's simple and plain. It's
way
simple to
drowns
say.
out. You don't want to have all that headphone bleed and bad singing into the back of the mic and omni and picking up everything around you, having the cars and the trucks go by and the bathroom echoes, the worst spots. You know, I pick a nice dead spot, try to listen to it acoustically before I record the vocals, you know. That way you don't have to spend your whole mix fixing vocal sounds, trying to find a plug-in that gets rid of headphone bleed and all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. You just want to try to make it sound the best it can.
Coming in this ready to act. A motherfucking fool. A motherfucker. Ready to act. Fool off a goose and yak. Ready to act. Fool off a goose and yak. Front to back. Fool off a goose and yak. Front to back. Front to back. Front to back. Front to back.
Curb does his own echo sometimes. I'm gonna check the backgrounds real quick. I know they have some on there.
You know what? DPG. 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 Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. Minute, everything is copacetic.
You gotta get rid of all this junk.
Drop too much trouble, too much tension. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas. We ain't playing. The irony of the game simple and plain. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas. We ain't playing no more games with you niggas. We ain't playing. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. I'm Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Smoking on a half a pound or a quarter sack. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, nigga, don't give me that. That nigga, don't. Nigga, that, don't give me that. Feel no pain, major pain. DPG. I told him, if you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. Man, everything is copacetic. Pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have.
Alright, so what we're gonna do is make a group for all the music so I can bring that down as I want. And we'll just bring the whole thing down a little bit. Make room for the vocals. You gotta have proper gain structure, especially when you're dealing in the box. You're not gonna get much headroom if you have everything all at the top. You gotta really have everything at a lower level so that if you really want some more level out of something, you can get it without distortion. Let's see. We'll do a new group with just the hooks too. That way I can solo it in here. We'll get rid of all that junk before the hook. I'm very particular about noises and buzzes in general on the tracks. You know, I like everything to be really as clean as possible. If I have to deal with any noises or buzzes, a lot of times I have to gate it or cut it out or insert the silent strip or something like that. I mean, you do have to fight with those types of things now and then. But I really think keeping those to a minimum is key in trying to get a good sounding product.
Smoking on a half a pound or a quarter. Smoking on a half a pound or a quarter sack. We came or a quarter sack or a quarter sack. We came to get the.
Yeah, that's the best we can do. We'll do like that. I made it more smoking and drinking.
Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback.
Okay, so now we'll just fly this hook that we fixed to the other hooks.
Hello, trying to smoke my shit. Give me that baby gon'.
You just take the beginning of the hook, the very beginning, and identify a mark, identifiable mark, like that one. Boom. And we'll again copy the whole thing. Then we'll go to this one and we'll put it in the same exact spot. Oh. No, we got a hook there. Apple V.
Give me that. People see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. I'm Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that. Don't give me that.
Yeah, the vocals are, I mean, the track is mixed, and then I'll just do the vocals and then make changes around it once I have the vocals put in. So let's mute that. Let's mute the hook. We'll just deal with the main vocal for right now.
Game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog. And I told him, if you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it.
Yeah, I just highlighted the vocal so that it'll loop on its own. And I think I'm just trying to find a place where I want it to loop around for the verse, so I can just concentrate on this first verse and just keep going over and over until I get it to sound just like I want it. That's one thing I do like about computers now and everything. It's very easy to loop things, and even if I have one little section, or one little tambourine hit, or one something, I'll just highlight it, let it loop over and over until I want, I get the sound just like I like it, and then I'll get rid of the loop. But at least you can just work on the same thing, or a hook. I can just repeat the hook over and over and over and over until I just get it just like I like it. And yeah, I like the looping aspect of it. It saves a lot of time mixing now, without having to rewind and all of that.
Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog in the eye of me. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic, lightheaded, upper grade hydrochronic, new strand off the planet?
Now right now I had for the rough I had a 4-band compressor, but I want to change, a 4-band EQ. I'll change it to a 7, because it gives me access to my high pass filter here, and I like to take out some of the junk.
If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic. I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy.
That really drops it off big.
See that? Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog in the eye of me. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic, lightheaded?
There's a lot of junk under there, low-end junk you really don't need to make the vocals sound right, but I don't know, you just listen to it. You don't want to take too much out, so I go to where I think it is and then even let up off it a little bit more. Now, you can check it out with the EQ.
I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic. I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have
a lot of that low end stuff that I was talking about that might come from room ambience or anything that I really don't want to be in that vocal obstructing even bass or kick frequencies. You'll just be wondering, why does it sound ambient down in that range of frequencies? And you just might have not cut out a lot, filtered out a lot of the low end of a microphone, and really it's not picking up any vocal information more than it's just picking up room noise and rumble.
She all on my beat it low, trying to smoke my shit. I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic. I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mag cocked. Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog in the eye of me. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic, lightheaded, upper grade hydrochronic, new strand off the planet bomb indeed. Just some of that bomb ass weed. My doctor told me that's what I need, so I'ma keep smoking. Wanna smoke with me? Baby girl thick, she all on my beat it low, trying to smoke my shit. I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic. I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mag cop.
With the 1176 to come down. Once I get it EQ'd just I like it. I usually put the EQ after I put the compressor. I don't know, I like to compress it and then EQ it. It seems to, I don't know, it just seems to work well for what I'm doing. In a bigger studio, signal chain is, in the order is really important of what you're trying to do. So I think on the computer it might be a little less important, but even plugins, you're going to want to chain them in the order that is going to make your sound the best. And I usually like to compress stuff and then EQ it.
I told her, If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic, I'm pushing the rag top. But I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mag cocked. Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog.
Sometimes when a vocal is a little shrill or piercing, if you add some of the low you took out back, it'll smooth some of the stuff out. So you're trying to get rid of all the junk, but yet not really kill yourself with the shrillness of the high end. Check it out.
If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic, I'm pushing the rag top. But I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mag cocked. Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog, and eye me. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic? Lightheaded, upper grade hydrochronic. New strand off the planet bomb indeed. Just some of that bomb ass weed. My doctor told me that's what I need. So I'ma keep smoking when it's.
Alright, so we'll set up a master fader. And I don't usually do this when I'm mixing on a regular SSL or even on my Mackie console. If I'm spreading it out, I don't do that. But in this case, I think it'll give us a little more flexibility and a little more headroom, hopefully. And that goes back to what I was saying about gain structure. Is sometimes you need to adjust things. Maybe bring all your faders down at one time, so that you can turn your master fader up more, And in this case, I want to leave everything right around here and make it so my master fader, I can bring it up more. And that way I'm not clipping out my channels and everything like that.
I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic.
Then I get more push out of my vocals and my snare, anything else that I need up. Sometimes you have to bring everything else down in order to bring something up. You can't just keep turning everything up until you have everything at the top of the mixer here, and you just got nowhere to go with that. So you try to maintain some sort of control over your gain structure. Let's see, I think we got corrupt in the pocket.
I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you.
And what we'll do is we'll add his backgrounds now, and we can just take those off the group for a second, so we can mix those properly.
Too much trouble, too much tension.
Now I did some panning that I liked earlier. I don't usually like to go all the way outside here unless I really want that crazy effect with the backgrounds. I usually like to have them somewhere just off center, so that they're spread it out, but not too much.
That's we.
Now, what I want to do is I want to EQ these a little bit differently than they are now, but I don't want to waste a bunch of plugins, so I'll make a auxiliary track for that, a stereo auxiliary, and I'll have the input be a bus. Pick any random bus, 9 and 10, some I'm not using later, and then I'll make this output 9 and 10. And I have the ads. And I make this 9 and 10. Well, all these should go to 9 and 10. Alright. And now again I want these to come out of 1 and 2. So now we're getting all this.
PG,
Everything's on here.
come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it.
I like what I did to the lead vocal, so I might just take the same plugins and put them over here and see what happens.
PG, DPG, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. Minute, everything is copacetic. Drop, too much trouble, too much tension. What? Playing no
I want to hear things alone and coupled with the other processor, so I know what I'm really getting out of each processor. So if I have even on an EQ, I'm going to bypass it and hear how the sounds naturally, and then really check it to what I'm doing. And as I'm sweeping through frequencies, I'm trying to see if anything is going to enhance the sound by either subtracting it or adding that frequency to the vocal or whatever instrument I'm trying to EQ. See, I keep bypassing it once again to just make sure and check that I'm doing the right thing on it.
For you, come and get it. Minute, everything is copacetic.
And then definitely add a little more.
Drop, too much trouble, too much tension. What? We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you.
And,
we ain't playing.
That's when I really like to get my high pass filter just right on a vocal and get the high mids just right, because you could think it sounds good on little speakers. I'm telling you, on near fields and stuff, but if you put it back up on those big ones, you might find that you either took too much bass out by high pass because you couldn't really hear it on the near fields anyway. You either have it too shrill or too high-endy because you wanted it to cut through these near fields, but on the big ones it's just too much. Okay, so now I'll get rid of a little bit of this headphone bleeding garbage.
Indeed. That's we. Minute, everything is copacetic. New strand off the planet bomb. Indeed. That's we. Mine, I dip in the grind. Like. Mine, I dip in the grind. Like.
Alright. Let's see what we got.
If you want it, then I got it for you. Come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic.
To me, it's very important to kick up the vocals on some big, loud speakers with subs and get the rumble out and get everything adjusted just right on the big ones. Even if it is a little painful at times here and there, you're trying to get rid of that pain. You're trying to, if you hear pain, you're trying to adjust it loud so it's not going to be painful. And at that point, then I know a vocal is feeling good, when I can have it really loud on the big speakers by itself and it's not obtrusive and it's not abrasive. And then when I mix it in with the rest of the music, it's going to sing, and I can really just finally adjust the level to where it needs to be. Now we'll do the hook again. I'll probably set up a aux for that. We can do bus 11 and 12 on that one. See that output.
So give me that, gon' give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. These bitches see me and they give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make them give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These bitches see me and they give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Give me smoking. I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that. Gon' give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These bitches see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that. Gon' give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These bitches see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback.
Yeah, I'm gonna EQ the group of hooks now all at once, so I don't have a different EQ on each channel and everything. I think because it's recorded all at the same time on the same mic, you can just do it like this.
Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These bitches see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak.
Yeah, because I've got 3 different channels of vocals, or maybe even 4, and for just RAM purposes, I don't want to just have 4 different EQs going. But even if I got all the memory in the world, it's still going to get phase problems and certain types of things. Why have different EQs for the same vocals recorded on the same mic? You know, there's certain times you might want to do that to just achieve a different sound out of the vocals. I might want them to, each one to sound a little different. Maybe the low ones to sound a little fuller and the high ones to sound a little airier. I could do that. But with this, in this case, the rap backgrounds, I want them to all sound the same. I want them to all just be blended in a certain, stereo aspect. And I'm going to put a stereo EQ and compressor on just the main channel. So I just use one. Don't have any phase problems, and I'm getting the same exact EQ on all the vocals. And that's just a choice that you're going to make. And it's not always going to be the same choice every time, but it's going to be the choice that I make with this one.
Simple and plain is give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that. It's simple and plain, it's give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that. It's simple and plain.
Okay, now there's a couple places in the hook that I hear that need a little volume adjustment. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll just fly them into all the hooks.
Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that. These see me and they give me that. Give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sick.
And this is gonna come up.
I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lag, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that. Give me that. Smoking. I'm sipping yak. I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, don't give me that. It's simple and plain, it's simple just saying. Hit the vein.
Now we're just gonna bring them all down here.
I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My cat, give me that, give me that. Smoke, I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, don't give me that. They never leave me 'cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make. They never leave me 'cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. I'm sipping yak in the back. 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 Cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. Cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make 'em give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak.
Okay, now I got the hook sounding like I want. I'm gonna go ahead and fly it in the way I like. Let's get to the same spot as we had. And fly these volume moves in. Most likely that'll be it. Yep. So now we just fly those in. And same thing for this one. I'll fly that. That's good to go.
Beat it low, trying to smoke my shit. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. Wanna smoke with me? Baby girl thick, she all on my.
Yep, I'm gonna put them all in a group. Then we're gonna EQ them the same, and then we're gonna adjust their level so that they don't come in too loud. And I want them to match with the vocal and feel good when it comes in, and not feel like it's too much, and then not feel like you're missing something when the verse comes back in. So you have to listen to the verse coming out into the hook, and you always have to listen to the hook coming into the verse to make sure that you're not mismatched. And then luckily I recorded all these at the same time with the same rapper, so I'm thinking that each verse is pretty much the same, but I'm sure he still started rapping some of the latter verses louder than the beginning verse, so you gotta watch for that. And with three different rappers, when I'm doing a group like Western Union, which is, the last thing I just worked on, there was three different rappers that were rapping, and you had to go from the first verse to the second to the third to make sure that each different rapper had the same matching timbre and matching, one didn't want to be too bright, and this guy really dark, and this guy really loud, and this guy not that loud. And then you're gonna have them on you saying, "Why'd you turn him up louder than me?" and all of this. And so you really gotta fight. I'll go from verse to verse to verse, and just directly just clicking to it to make sure that each verse is the exact same level, and the same timbre, and same EQ, vision. Even if it's not the same EQ, it's the same EQ vision. You're going for like a scheme.
Smoking low can just roll the. It's back to the basics back. Leave him slumped up in his basement for chasing cat that the dog sent out to route him back.
All right, so I just need to make sure that we are coming out of the hooks into the verses where the vocals match in level wise and EQ wise. And the same going with coming into the hooks. I want to make sure that the hook is just the right volume for coming out of the vocal, out of the verse. So let's check that out.
Dick, she all on my beat it low, trying to smoke my shit. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that.
No, it sounds good, but it sounds a little thin coming out. Maybe that's because of the volume and where it is. So I might just try to thicken it up a little bit with this.
I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, don't give me that. It's simple and plain.
So that'll match EQ-wise more. And I listen to that real low to tell that. But I'll go back up top and hear it loud just to make sure when I finish this run.
That drain, I just wanna sip, I ain't trying to think. I ain't mad at you, I'ma help you do it. Put your ass down and put your back into it. Like up, down, side to side. I really don't know, your guess is better than mine. I dip and I grind like, give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back. I really don't know, your guess is better than mine. I dip and I grind like, give me that, baby, give me that, gon' give me that. I hope you don't mind if I front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that.
See, so something there sounds like it's thin, it's still coming in. So we need to fix that.
Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. I'm Cadillac, I make them give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that. Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me.
And this one must have to come up a little.
Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me that, give me that. Front to back, front to back.
Yeah, because what I did was I put a whole hook in a group, and because I have automation on the track now, and then I go and I feel like the whole hook is too loud, so I go all the way to the end with the trim tool, and I turn down as many dB as I want, and it turns down all my moves equally. And I do zoom out to make sure it's doing all my moves equally, because you can easily get caught where you're just moving half your song or something like that. But yeah, I go to the end and that's all I do.
We're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. What we do, we leave you stagnated, hated by a couple few. Why they hate on you? I really don't know, your guess is better than mine. I dip and I grind like
where the vocals are just above the snare, it seems like is a good place for them, so that the snare isn't drowning out the words, but it's kind of up there in the same space. And you kind of want to play around with it until it gets to there. A lot of times when you bring the vocal in, you lose the snare, but I tend to make my snare just a little bit louder these days to compensate for that. So when I put the vocal in, it's pretty much right there. I hear this little zipper type thing. I might bring that down just a hair. It's a cool sound, but no. Make sure you hear the piano.
The basics back. Leave him slumped up in his basement for chasing cat that the dog sent out to reroute him back to the spot where we could carry out the jack. I'm coming in this ready to act.
What you want to do is take the group off. Make sure you're hearing everything.
Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. People see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. I'm Cadillac, I make them give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that.
Couple little things here and there, but now we got this other bass to put in, so I'm going to put this in and make sure that these bass frequencies from this bass aren't getting in the way of the other bass that I have in there and the kick drum, and that's going to be the hard thing to do. Now at this bass we got it coming up in two spots, and the one has a flange effect on it, the other one is straight. But by it having two outputs and probably slightly off a little bit, it tends to accentuate the flange sound, which I kind of like in this case. So I'm going to leave this like this right now.
Too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no games with you.
Now, I usually don't mix in the box, but if I were to have some if I always mix in the box, I'd have different plugins, maybe a few Pultecs, a couple LA2As, a couple things that emulate what the big studios have. But I'm gonna mix with just the basic stuff, so that I can show you that a mix can come out just as good if you just have the right ear and use what you have to the best of its ability there.
I told her, if you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. If you want it, then I got it for you, come and get it. In a minute, everything is copacetic, I'm pushing the rag top, but I'm somewhere like Italy, so I don't have to have a mad cop. Too much trouble, too much tension. There's one more thing I forgot to mention. We ain't playing no more games with you. We ain't playing no more games with you. High society, we're here to give y'all variety. The irony of the game is simple and plain. Don't be looking at me strange, mad dog in the irony. Who's trying to smoke some of this hydroponic? Lightheaded up a grade hydrochronic.
Now what I'll do is solo the kick, the bass, and the other bass. Make sure that we're not got frequencies that are getting in the way of each other, because that's what muddles up the bottom of a mix. And people wonder why my mixes sound so solid and so punchy, but I don't muddle it with a bunch of other frequencies that don't need to be there. And it seems to really help what I'm trying to achieve. Now when I shifted those frequencies down a little bit, it got out of the way of what everything else was doing, and it allowed it to really sub. Now I'm going to get that on there, and I'm going to use this other side with the effect on it for more of like a high-endy kind of definition with the flange on it. So we'll raise the frequencies here. Then again, once always check the phase and make sure that when you have two things coming up, you want it to be in phase to get the maximum amount of signal. The phaser effect will be subtle in the track. Right now it's a little you can hear it really distinctly, but in the track it's just going to add a fluidness to the live bass that I thought might help more than just leaving it sit flat. It gives more of a fluid tone to the bass that I liked.
smoking, wanna smoke with me? Baby girl thick, she all on my beat it low, tryna smoke my shit. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. These see me and they give me that, give me that.
See, in this case, I needed to bring the kick up to really match. After I brought everything else in, it's so musical and everything like that, but you don't want to lose still the punch of the kick. So you don't want it to dominate everything, but I still brought it up, so they're gonna have a lot of punch to it.
Simple and plain, it's simple just saying. Hit the Vega and don't feel no pain. My Sarah Vegas is a major pain. When I pull up in that thing, candy stain. She looked at me and she was like, give me that drain. I just wanna sip, I ain't tryna think. At you, I'ma help you do it. Put your ass down and put your back into it. Like up, down, side to side, round and round. Touch the ground, separate, bring it back. Serve them sacks, split the stacks. Me and my that's what we do. We leave you stagnated, hated by a couple few. I really don't know, your guess is better than mine. I dip and I grind like, give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. These see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lap, baby. My Cadillac, I make them give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie cornerback. So give me that, gon' give me that.
And change the EQ of the kick a little bit too, so it stands out now that the vocals are in. There are always a few little things you gotta do just to make it perfect sit around the vocals, make the beat still bang.
Don't bother. Whenever I bust, I leave them speechless. Me and the dog father. DAZ, DPG, smoking low and just roll the. It's back to the basics back. Leave him slumped up in his basement for chasing cat that the dog sent out to route him back to the spot where we could carry out the jack. I'm coming in this ready to act. Full off a goose and yak. Front to back, front to back. Give me that, baby, gon' give me that, give me that. These see me and they give me that, give me that. They never leave me cause I'm beating that cat. I'm sipping yak in the back of the lab, baby. My Cadillac, I make them give me that, give me that. Smoking, I'm sipping yak. We came to get the big homie.
See right there, I wanted to hear more of the actual bass instrument, so I took some of the bass frequency out of it and turned it up some. Instead of just trying to bombard it with volume and the bass frequency and everything, I just cut some of the bass out of the bass and brought it up, and that made it, you can hear it more musically. Let's see, this other live bass is blending in nice now, but I'm going to have to go through and do arrangements and cuts on this so that things really stand out. So I think at this point we'll save it and figure out what type of mutes we're going to do on it.